This video is made possible by CodeNotary.io, tamper-proof notarization for all your digital objects. Hello everybody and welcome back to the MoShix Mainframe channel. This is MoShix. You may remember from the good old days in the 80s and the 90s there used to be a conferencing system particularly for VM users, VM370, VMSP, VMXA, etc. that was based on the BITNET protocol, BITNET network that was also an extension of the internal IBM network called VNet, beloved by all or most IBM employees and the envy of many people who were outside either the VNet network because they were not IBM employees or the BITNET network because they were not at universities. But those networks were a lot of fun, and there were thousands and thousands of people connected, and at one point there were over 4,000 nodes on BITNET. And somebody wrote this conferencing system for BITNET and VNet that you see here on the screen, and they called it VMSHARE. And VMSHARE was a very simple protocol. Any discussions were just done by appending to a conference file. And so people would read first, and if they wanted to get involved in a discussion, they would just send a file to the conference, and it would be appended to the conference, and then everybody would read it. And to this day, you can still search the old archives of VMSHARE, and you will see some people posting stuff, and then other people replying. And obviously, in those days, things would take days. It's not the high throughput discussions that we see on the internet today, but it got its job done, and lots of people participated in these discussions. Now I'm talking about this because, as you know, I have this fascination in the last couple of months with our newly revived BITNET, which I call myself HNET. And I've written over the time several extensions to it, and I've made some videos about it. And I've been very busy at work, and I've been adding lots of services. And as you know, there is a node that I set up called Relay, and Relay has now a command processor. And if you type just Relay, if you have this Rex script, which anybody can obtain, and then it will show you all the various services that we have on BITNET. We have things like I can't do all because it would be boring, but I can do like stats, and you will see since we re-IPL'd this Unix machine 13 days ago, we already had over 6,000 commands received, 3,000 messages sent, 71 unique users have logged in, and many other. And before, the uptime was like I think about 2 or 3 months, and we had over 30,000 commands, and I think at the top we had about 90 users on my beloved HNET. And so I can do things like relay pi if I want to have pi being calculated, and that is calculated, it's not just displayed. I can also do things like show me the moon phase, and then I will get the moon phase here. I can do relay forecast, I don't know, let's say Paris. I want to see the weather forecast for Paris, and then it will tell me the temperature will go up by 1 p.m. here up to about 11 Celsius. It will also show me if there is any chance of rain. I can also say I can also say calculate a way out of a maze. First design a maze and then find a way out, and then we'll find other words for a car. I can also say movie, Jaws, and it will tell me everything about this movie. So I have about, I don't know, maybe is it 20, 25 different services. I can also do, now and then I update the command processor, this relay command processor, and when I do, you can just do relay upgrade, and it will send to you the latest version, and then you can just go to your spool viewer, and then it's in there, and you can download it and use it. One thing I also added just today was the route command. So if you type route relay route, it will send to you the latest routing table for HNET as I see it, the HNET or the bitnet that is visible to me. It's been very helpful for a lot of people. A lot of people use it. I also have kind of an update to all the users that I write, so that we know all the latest nodes that I've joined, such as the University of Leipzig just recently joined with a node. Somebody joined with a VAX Open VMS computer, which of course also works. And then anytime I add the new service, I will update it here, and then people can see what's going on. So we're building a nice little community here. And of course, you don't have to have your own mainframe to connect. You can also connect obviously with VM370 if that's what you have. And if you don't even want to do that, you can ask for an account on some of the mainframes that are connected to it. And I already have like 30-40 users of my VM370 mainframe, and then you can just partake as a user. You don't need to run your own mainframe. So one thing, and then the other thing I wanted to show is I also have a chat program that I wrote, about which I made a video a couple of weeks ago. And so here we can just say chat hello, anybody there. And if anybody's logged on, then they will get, they can participate in chats. One thing I wanted to do is implement the VMSHARE conferencing system, just like the one I was showing at the beginning of this video. So this video is about how I implemented conferencing with just with Bash on my relay node on the on HNET or BitNet. So for that, I have here a terminal session, and I'm going to show that. So if you remember, when I started with my first version of Relay Node, I was using a version of the network job entry software that was actually created by the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and a lot of people worked on that and made it possible to run it also on Linux. In the beginning, it was actually written for OpenVMS, or for VMS back then. And so some people ported it, but then it was a little old. It was only run on 32-bit. I've been doing some work on that as well, but now it runs quite nicely on Linux. And the problem with the performance of the NGE implementation for Linux from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem is it's slow. It takes a while for messages to be processed and to be sent, and there's kind of a lag. And especially if you work with, if you're in chat and you send a message and it takes 2, 3 seconds or 4 seconds to reach other people, that lag starts to be a nuisance. That's why I wanted to find a way to make this be as fast as it is now. I would say instantaneous. I found that there is a company called Synonomina, which of course in Latin means without the name, and I noticed that they have Synonomina NGE, that they have an NGE implementation for Linux. And so I contacted one of the people who works there, one of the best programs I've seen. His name is Neil Ferguson, who was recently, by the way, interviewed by the IBM Mainframe podcast. Neil Ferguson. Yeah, that's him. A very interesting podcast if you want to listen to it. I reached out and asked if it was possible to get a free license for my relay node to offer a service to all the HNET connected people. And they were very, very generous, and they came back and they said, sure. And so I've been running it, and this is what I'm running now on my node. And the big advantage of the Synonomina NGE is it's much, much faster. As you saw, I type a chat message, it comes back instantaneously through the network. I thought that we would be using this node. I switched my relay node to, of course, to the software. You can see here, that's the software which you install with RPM packages. The way this looks today, the upgrade command, for instance, which sends you the latest version of the relay command processor, this is how it looks like. I have a bash script which just first stores the date so we can time all these commands, and then sends some text saying, hey, the latest version of the relay command processor has been sent to your reader. Receive to replace, please. And then I also write an entry into a log file so I know what's happening. I can see if there are any problems. And then we do a send file of the relay exec. So that's basically that's a VM Rex program, as you saw before, and then it sends it to the user, and then 1 is the user, at is the notation, and that 2 will be the node, because when I get called, I will have the user and the node as arguments, and then I can use those to send back the script file. So, and then of course I time it again, and then I can calculate how long it took to execute this little bash script. It's very very simple, just calling a bunch of bash scripts, but it works, and it's easy to debug, easy to test, and very fast. And so all the commands that we have are in here, and so I wanted to have something to do the conferencing. And how would I do that? Well, I thought that one way to do it is that people could send a file with any comments they want to append to any conference. So let's say they start a discussion about IPA beer, right? Then I would do it like this. I would start first edit the text I want to send. Who else here likes IPA beer, right? And oops. And then I can say mushix. And so now I could just do send file IPA beer drive A to general at relay. Okay, so now I just sent my memo to this conference, and if I do now a relay conference general, what happens is that the scripts that I have running here, they will receive this file, they will append it to the conference file, the general conference file, and then anybody can request to read the conference file, which I just did here on my terminal. And when I do that, it will be sent to my spool, and now I can view it. Who else here likes IPA beer? So, and now other people will be able to read this and append to it. So very simple, all done with bash scripts, very fast. There is no lag whatsoever, and also several people send their notes at the same time. My scripts are able to keep those apart. And how do I do that? So let's go back here. I create for every conference a user, and then I have this command here, read files. So every time there is a file being sent to this user from the network, from the HNET network somewhere, it will appear here in the spool, and it's going to have a spool ID, who sent it, how big is it, what, all that kind of information. Right now there's nothing. I have this bash script that runs all the time in an endless loop, and what it does is, you can see here an endless loop, and then first it counts if there is more than one, if there is any spool file waiting in the spool. And to do that, I run the viewer for the spool, which is QReader, as you can see here. Right. If I do query reader will show either one line when it's empty, but if there's more than one line, it means there is some payload there. So I go there and then I count. If the count is greater or equal to, it means there is something waiting there. And so then I get the spool ID, the user, the node, and the time. And why is that important? Because if you see the output of QReader, there's a spool ID, and then there is a from, and the origin would be the node here, right? And this is what I need, and the spool ID, the user, and the origin. And with that, I can start to build the append to the conference, because I take the spool ID. What I do here, I just take one from the bottom. I process all the output from the bottom up, and take the spool ID from the column 1 with an awk script, and then I take the user from column 2, and the node, as we saw, the origin is from column 14. Then I take the time, and Neil Ferguson told me I should do it in ISO mode with UTC. That's fine by me. And then the most important thing is then I need to store every file with its own unique name so that I never overwrite any content. That's why I said that this is able to process lots of incoming messages at the same time, because every file is stored with a random number in the temp directory. And then I receive that directory using the NGE command for that, which is loosely based on the Hebrew University of Jerusalem command structure. And I take it with this file name here, and so now I put in a log entry here that I received something, and now I build the message to append to the conference. And what I do is I append to a conference called relay.conf, and I put in the time, the user, and the node, as you can see here. And then I cut everything to 77 bytes because I don't want to have anything too wide for the standard 80 character wide 3270 terminal emulators. So I append it all there by the append command in Unix. And then I say this is the end. I put in a couple of empty lines, and then write a log entry to my log file so that I know what's going on. And then I sleep 2 seconds. And if something arrived in the meantime, then I'll just find those lines and I'll be able to process them. I could also sleep 5 seconds or 7 seconds. It's not going to be a very high throughput system. So, and even if we wait a couple of seconds to see the stuff being appended, that's okay. So now we have any incoming message, text message is now being processed, appended to relay conf, and now we only need to look at how the conference files being sent to the users who request them. If you remember, the way to request it is by doing relay conference general or relay conference relay for related topics, and then you will be sent the latest version of the conference to your spool. And you can look at the spool by doing RL, and you see here it's in there. Right now nobody has answered yet. I only launched this service a couple of hours ago, and so this works very reliably, very fast. And so how do we process now sending this to people who want to see the conference files? So let's go back here, file, which looks like this. Again, I note the date so I can calculate how long this took to execute. The conference is extracted by doing an awk script. So, and this will either include general or relay. If it's general, then it says latest version of general conference has been sent to your reader, receive to replace, and then we say send file general conf. And if the conference that the user wants is relay, then we send the relay conf to the user. And again, $1 is the user, $2 is the node. And then later on, if it's not general or relay, then there is a, that we have the user put in some wrong input, and we tell them that it's wrong. And then we process the end, how long this took to execute, and we say execution time or short run. And we write a log file. Each time I send something, I write it to the relay log, so then I can use this for statistics. Because if you remember, if I do relay stats, it shows me how many messages were sent. So this means that every time I send a message, I need to write it down somewhere so that I can count easily. And so this is how I implemented a conferencing system with basically with paper and glue and scissors by just using bash scripts. No problem at all. Even for my very simple server here, look at the server. This has only 3.4 gigabytes of memory, only one CPU. No problem whatsoever to process here thousands of conference files being sent. So this just shows how easy it is to use just simple scripts to enhance the value of our HNET network. I'm very thankful to Sine Nomine and to Neil Ferguson for all his help. So a very, very pleasant experience, both with the software by Sine Nomine, but also with the community of people here. And as I was saying before, I think we have 76 users have been using this system, which I assume that there's many more users, because not all users on HNET, of course, use Relay. But if we look at the routing map, which we can do relay route, we can see the routes file, and we have right now I have maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 hosts here in my routing file, but there's many more. I don't know of all the hosts of all the nodes in the network, but it sure is a lot of fun. We exchange files, we chat, and the great thing is that by using HNET, we always stay within the EBCDIC character system, and we never have to worry about blocking of files we send to each other, because we always stay within the mainframe architecture. And we could of course use SSH and FTP and email and download it from the terminal with terminal transfer. But anytime you do that, you go from EBCDIC to ASCII, and there's always some problems with the conversion there, and also you will have to worry about blocking, reblocking, etc. By staying within HNET, within the enthusiast community, we never have to worry about these things. We stay within the medium that we love and want to use. So I hope that I was able to explain how this all worked. It only took me about an hour and a half of work to implement conferencing, and I hope you will all use it. If you like this particular video, then a thumbs up would be highly appreciated. If you haven't subscribed to the MoShake's Mainframe channel yet, now would be a good time to do so, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you. Goodbye.